Hello students, myself Jinali Shah from Saraswat International Academy. I am your biology teacher. Now before taking a deep insight into our subject, first of all we will deal regarding the exams conducted in your 11th and 12th standard. 11th standard exam will be conducted, the school exams for the 11th standard will be conducted within school itself. 12th standard examination will be conducted by board, and finally we will have the NEET exam. You all being the biology students, as you want to seek the admission in the medical field, you need to give a competitive exam, and that is the NEET exam. Now first of all we will deal with the school exam pattern of your 11th standard. Now students, during your 11th standard, 3 exams will be conducted in the school. The first term exam, which is of 50 marks, second term exams again of 50 marks, annual exam of 80 marks, and internal marks in each subject is 20 marks. So this brings the total of 200 marks. So at the end of the year, the report card will be given to you, and in that report card, each and every subject's mark will be out of 200, which will be finally conducted, or which will be divided into 100 marks, and then you will be given the results. Now we will study regarding your NEET exam pattern. Now students, we will deal with the NEET exam pattern. The NEET exam is meant if you want to seek the admission in the medical field. So now how is this exam conducted? That is the exam pattern. So basically it is an pen paper based exam, which means it is an offline exam. The duration of the exam is 3 hours. The total number of questions asked are 180. Now these 180 questions are divided into 3 subjects: physics, chemistry and biology. Physics contains 45 questions, chemistry contains 45 questions, and biology contains 90 questions. So out of 180 questions, half of the questions are from our subject, that is biology. So biology is the most important part in the NEET examination. Now if we deal with the exam scheme, then plus 4 marks will be given for each correct answer, 1 mark will be deducted for each incorrect answer, and 0 mark for each unanswered question. So basically, as there are 180 questions and for each correct answer there is 4 marks, so maximum marks will be 720. So from this, as there are 45 questions of physics, so this section consists of 180 marks, chemistry again 45 questions, so total 180 marks for chemistry, and botany part contains 45 questions, so 180 marks for botany. Zoology section contains 45 marks, so 180 questions, 180 marks for zoology, which brings the total of 360 marks. So from this we can say that half of your weightage of the NEET exam is of biology, which brings up to 360 marks. Now students, we will study regarding the unit wise weightage for the NEET exam. Now including your 12th standard, so when we talk about 11th and 12th standard both, there are total 10 units in biology subjects. Out of those 10 units, 5 units we will be studying in 11th standard. So first of all, we will study the unit wise weightage for the 11th standard units. Now your 11th standard consists of the 5 units, each unit containing different number of chapters. So the first unit is the diversity in the living world, whose weightage is approximately 14%. Then the second unit is structural organization in plants and animals, whose approximate weightage is 5%. Third unit is cell structure and functions, whose approximate weightage is 9%. Fourth unit is plant physiology, whose approximate weightage is 6%. And lastly, the human physiology, whose approximate weightage is 20%. This weightage may vary from year to year. These are the approximate weightage for your examination. Now students, today we will begin with the first chapter of our subject biology. So it is the chapter 1 of unit 1. The name of the unit, as I described earlier, is the diversity in the living world, and the first chapter we will be studying is the living world. Now first of all, what do you mean by the term living world? We know that various habitats are found on our earth, and this habitat has variety of the organisms. So earth, which is the home for diverse form of living organisms in different habitats, so all those living organisms which are present on earth constitute the living world. So basically all the living organisms which are present on earth, that constitute the living world. Now which are the various habitats where these living organisms are found? So these habitats are cold mountains, deciduous forest, polar region, hot water springs, deserts, oceans, freshwater lakes, and almost every place on the earth. So basically the living organisms are present on almost any place on the earth. Now these organisms which are present on earth, they create astonishment and sense of wonder to ourselves. Say for example, the galloping horse, the migratory birds, the valley of flowers, the attacking sharks. These all things, they create the sense of wonder in us. So now from this, all these organisms, they teach us about the ecological conflict and cooperation amongst the member of population, as well as they also teach about the cooperation between the populations of the community. Now I here use the two terms. One is the population and another one is the community. So basically what is population? The group of the organisms of the same species, it is called as population. Say for example, the group of human beings, the group of mango trees, the group of cats, all this is called as the population. And another term I utilized is the community. What do you mean by the term community? Now, the group of the different population which is found in a particular habitat, that is called as a community. Say for example, if we consider, say for example, Vapi as one habitat. Now in Vapi, say for example, the number of human beings found, that is called as the human population. The number of mango trees found, that is called as mango tree population. The number of cows found, this is called as the cow population. In this way, the population of each and every organism found in Vapi, what is that called as community. So what these all organisms teach us? They teach how the members of the same population, they cooperate with each other, and again they also teach how the different populations within a community communicate with each others. So not only that, these all organisms, they provide us the information regarding the molecular traffic which occurs inside the cell. And from these two, both these things reflect on very important thing, that what indeed is life. So from these two things, question arises in our mind that what indeed is life. Now students, as I told you that living organisms are found on different habitats on the earth. So first of all, what makes the living organisms different from non-living organisms? But before that, first of all, we need to seek the answer to the question, what indeed is life? As I told you in lastly, that there are basically two things, and from that two things, like the cooperation between the organisms of the same population as well as between the different populations within the community. And another thing which we studied is the molecular traffic which is taking within the cell. So from these two studies, the question arises, what indeed is life? Now from this, what indeed is life, this question itself has two implicit questions. One of the question is a technical question and one of the question is a philosophical question. Now, the technical part seeks the answer to the question, what is living as opposed to non-living. So what makes the living different from non-living? What do you mean by the living organisms? This is the technical part, this is the question for which we seek the answer, and the philosophical question is what the purpose of life is. What is the purpose of life? Now when we study regarding, or when scientists study, the scientists don't deal with the what is the purpose of the life. They don't seek the answer of the philosophical question. So our main emphasis will be given to the technical part, that is what do you mean by living. Now students, the living organisms, they possess certain characteristics which make them different from the non-living things. There are various characteristics which make the living organisms different from the non-living things. So what are those characteristics which are found in the living organisms? So we will deal with the characteristics of the living organisms. Which are the various characteristics found in the living organisms? So first is growth, second one is reproduction, third is metabolism, fourth one is cellular organization, and lastly the consciousness. Now apart from this, there are other characteristics too, like adaptation, excretion, etc. But these are the 5 main characteristics which we will be dealing. Which are they? Growth, reproduction, metabolism, cellular organization, and consciousness. Now out of these 5 characteristics, 2 characteristics of the living organisms, that is growth and reproduction, they are called as non-defining property of the living organisms. And metabolism, cellular organization, and consciousness, they are called as the defining property of the living organisms. Now here I have used 2 terms. One is the non-defining property and another one is the defining property. So what do you mean by the term defining property? The characteristics of the organisms, there are 5 main characteristics of the living organisms, and these 5 characteristics are categorized into growth, reproduction, metabolism, cellular organization, and consciousness, out of which growth and reproduction are non-defining properties, metabolism, cellular organization, and consciousness, they are defining property. Now what do you mean by the term defining property? Those property of the living organisms without any exceptions. The property of the living organisms without any exceptions. There are no exceptions, then such property are called as the defining property of the living organisms. Now as I told you, we will study in detail regarding the 5 characteristics of the living organisms. Which are those 5 characteristics? Growth, reproduction, metabolism, cellular organization, and consciousness. So today first of all we will study in detail regarding the first characteristic of the living organisms, that is growth. Now what do you mean by the term growth? So basically the term growth indicates the overall increase in mass or size of a tissue or organisms or its part. So increase in size or mass of a complete organism or any part of the organism or any tissue of the organism, then that is called as the growth. Now increase in mass or increase in the number of individuals. There are 2 things. One is increase in mass and another one is the increase in number of individuals. Both of these are considered as the twin characteristics of the growth. So both of them will be studied together when we talk about growth. What are the 2 twin characteristics of the growth? the increase in mass and increase in the number of the individuals. Now, we know that on the basis of the number of the cells, there are two types of the organisms. One is unicellular organism. They are the organisms which are made up of only single cell. And another one is multicellular organism, many cellular cells. So those organisms which are made up of many cells, they are called as the multicellular organism. Now question arises, how the growth process occurs. So whether it is a unicellular organism or whether it is a multicellular organism, all the organisms, they grow by the process called as the cell division. And we have already studied in lower standards the process of cell division. There are two types of the cell division, we all know. One of the cell division is called as the mitosis and another one is the meiosis. Two types of cell division we have already studied in the lower standard. One is the mitosis and another one is the meiosis. The process of the cell division taking place in the normal cells of the body, or you can say somatic cells of the body, that is called as mitosis, and the process of cell division which occurs at the time of formation of the gametes, what is it called as? It is called as the meiosis. Now, we will deal with the process, or we will deal with how many types of growth are there, that is the types of the growth. Now, when we divide growth, there are two types of growth. One is the intrinsic growth and another one is the extrinsic growth. There are two types of growth. One is intrinsic growth and another one is the extrinsic growth. What do you mean by the term intrinsic growth? So, growth, intrinsic, inside, it is related to the term inside. So, the growth process which occurs from inside the body of the living organism, that is called as the intrinsic growth. The growth process occurring within the body of the living organism, inside the body of the living organism, that is called as the intrinsic growth. And what is extrinsic growth? So, growth which occurs from outside the body of the living organism. The process of growth occurring outside, extrinsic, related to the outside. So, that process of the growth which occurs outside the body of the living organism, it is called as extrinsic growth. Now, we will first of all study regarding the extrinsic growth. Now, as I told you, the process of growth which occurs from outside the body of the organism, it is called as the extrinsic growth. Now, when we talk about extrinsic growth, it mainly considers the increase in the body mass. When we talk about extrinsic growth, it mainly considers regarding the increase in the body mass. Now, question arises, how this extrinsic growth might occur. So, basically, it is like the accumulation of the material on any body surface. When the material accumulates on the outer surface of the body, then it is basically the extrinsic growth. Now students, it is not like that only living organisms will deposit the material outside the body. There are many non-living objects like mountains, boulders, sand mounds, etc. Sand mounds are sand piles. So, by the accumulation of more and more sand, the height of the sand mound can go on increasing. Similarly, the height of the mountain may also grow on increasing. So, many non-living objects also exhibit the extrinsic growth, and therefore, extrinsic growth cannot be considered as a defining property, because here there is an exception. What is the exception? the non-living objects also exhibit the extrinsic growth, and therefore the extrinsic growth cannot be considered as a defining property of a life. Which type of property it is? It is a non-defining property of a life. Now second one is the intrinsic growth. As I told you, the name itself suggests the growth which occurs within the body of the organism. The process of growth occurring inside the body of the organism. So that type of the growth is called as an intrinsic growth. Now this intrinsic growth can be further divided into two types. One is indeterminate or unlimited growth, and the next one is the determinate or the limited growth. So intrinsic growth is further divided into two types, indeterminate or the unlimited growth, and the next one is the determinate or the limited growth. Now what is indeterminate or the unlimited growth? So the growth which occurs continuously throughout the lifespan of the organism. The process of growth occurring continuously throughout the lifespan of the organism, it is called as undeterminate or unlimited growth. This type of growth is found only in the plants. Students, very important, the unlimited or indeterminate growth is found only in the plants. The next one is determinate or limited growth. Name itself suggests for the certain period of the time, for the limited period of the time. So the process of growth which occurs only up to the certain age. The process of growth occurring up to the certain age of the living organism, it is called as the limited growth, and this limited growth is found in the animals. Where the limited growth occurs? It occurs in the animals. But you should keep in mind that in animals too, the replacement of the lost cell due to wear and tear, continuously the cells are lost from the animals. So to replace that the lost cells, the process of growth will take place. So replacement of the lost cell occurs continuously throughout the life of the animals. But the type of growth which they exhibit is the limited growth, because in them the growth process stops after the certain age. Now, so as the intrinsic growth, it is exhibited by only living organism. No non-living organism exhibit the intrinsic growth. So intrinsic growth alone can be considered as the defining property of the life. Intrinsic growth is not exhibited by any of the non-living objects, and therefore intrinsic growth is considered as a defining property of life. There are no exceptions. So intrinsic growth can be considered as a defining property of the life, whereas as extrinsic growth is exhibited by non-living objects too, it is considered as a non-defining property. Now, if a question arises in NEET, whether the growth is a defining property of life or non-defining, if it is not mentioned whether it is intrinsic growth or extrinsic growth, compulsorily if it is asked regarding the general growth, you will mention that the process of the growth is the non-defining property of the life. If alone growth process is asked, then it is which property of a life? It is a non-defining property of the life. Now students, the next characteristic of the growth, that is reproduction, we will deal with it in the next lecture. Today, so before ending of our video, we will go through the quick revision of our chapter. So basically here we have studied regarding the living world. So the quick revision, what do you mean by the term living world? So term living world, it means the living organisms which are found in the various habitats. Which are the various habitats where living organisms are found? So the living organisms are present everywhere on the earth. It may be polar region, it may be desert, it may be a deciduous forest, it may be an ocean, it may be a hot water spring, it may be a freshwater lake, etc. Which means living organisms are found everywhere on the earth. Now, when we study, we know that variety of the living organisms are found on earth, and all these living organisms, they wonder us. How do they wonder us? There are various ways in which each and every living organism wonder us. Now through this we come to the question, what is life? Now basically when we study what is life, it is further, as I told you, divided into two parts. There is a technical part of this question, that what is life itself, and opposed to the non-living object, and there is a philosophical question, that is what is the purpose of life. But when scientists are concerned, we will deal here only with what is life. Now, living organisms, they possess various characteristics which are not present in the non-living objects. So, basically when we study certain characteristics, we can say whether the object is a living object or the non-living object. So, the 5 main characteristics of the living organisms are growth, reproduction, metabolism, cellular organization, and lastly the consciousness. Out of this, the first two, that is growth and reproduction, they are the defining properties of, they are the non-defining properties of life, and the last three, that is metabolism, consciousness and the cellular organization, they are called as the defining property of life. Now, what do you mean by defining property? All those properties of life without any exceptions are called as defining property. We have also studied the first characteristic of the growth of the living organism, and that is growth. How did we define the growth? Increase in mass and size of a tissue or organism or its part, that is called as the growth. Now, increase in mass and increase in the number of individuals, they are considered as the twin characteristics of the growth. Now, how the living organism grow? So, they grow by the process of the cell division. We have also studied the types of growth. There are two types of growth. One is intrinsic growth and another one is the extrinsic growth. Growth occurring from inside the body of the living organism. Intrinsic growth, growth occurring from outside the body, it is extrinsic growth. How extrinsic growth occurs? So basically it is increase in the body mass, which means it is mainly in the form of accumulation of some material on the surface of the body. There are non-living objects which too possess the extrinsic growth, like boulders, mountains, etc. They also exhibit the extrinsic growth, and therefore extrinsic growth cannot be considered as a defining property of life, and therefore it is a non-defining property of life. Now, intrinsic growth, it is further divided into two, indeterminate or unlimited growth, and next is determinate or the limited growth. Growth which occurs continuously throughout the life of an organism, unlimited growth which occurs only in the plants, and growth which occurs only up to the certain age, it is called as the limited growth, which occurs only in the animals. But we need to keep in mind that in animals the replacement of the lost cell occurs throughout the life. So here we come to the end of the lecture. The next characteristics of the life we will study in the next lecture. Thank you, students.